Show we're live Wednesday, June 5th, and in studio, the one, the only Cenk Uygur, you know, from the Young Turks, the number one online news show in the world, as Cenk would say. He's as progressive as they come, and it's great to see you in studio, brother. Last time I saw you was in D.C. a month or so ago.
Yep. Always great to be here, brother.
You know,
Always
it's interesting. When I tweeted that you were coming out, the reaction was just perfect. It goes from, oh, this is so great, to like, oh, God, no. So I got and they were from progressives and Democrats.
Yeah.
Because, you know, within the Democratic Party, it's hard to please everyone, and I don't even try, but I'm also amazed at times the emails I get from people who listen to the show, like from I'm an establishment Democrat or I'm a phony progressive to why do you hate Bernie Sanders so much? And I'm like, I don't, none of that's true, but it doesn't matter. It's perception. How do you navigate this world? Because I know you're in it too.
Yeah, well, are you kidding me? I'm knee deep in it, neck deep in it. Look, the people who like me really like me. The people who don't like me hate me. And so we've got a two-front war at least. So we've got the Trump guys, but we also have the establishment. And I think that the establishment Democrats, however you define them, probably dislike me more.
Really?
Yeah.
More than Ben Shapiro? I'm not sure if you get along with, in the real world, maybe you get along with Ben as a person. You disagree. I don't know. I've only had a few interactions with him, and we don't like each other. I don't hate him. We just don't like each other.
Well, I mean,
he might be maybe to talk to him in the real life is different than online. We used to fight on Twitter.
Yeah. Look, I mean, that's the weird world we live in, right, Dean? So because I had this huge debate with Ben Shapiro at Politicon.
Right.
And before that, they had to move it because it was so oversold that we didn't fit in the room. They moved it in this giant auditorium. But what that created was almost an hour where we were sitting in the green room together.
Ah.
And so we got along perfectly fine before we went on stage. And then Tucker Carlson, similar situation, also at Politicon. And I talked to him for like 20 minutes, maybe 30 backstage. Got along totally fine. It's not personal. Right. They got kids. You know, I got kids, everything. Now, on the other hand, when Tucker goes on air and does his white nationalist shtick, how is that the same pleasant guy that was backstage? And then Ben Shapiro goes on and says that, you know, Palestinians live in the sewer and like to bomb things. And so, I mean, you were nice to my face, but then you turn around and say that the whole groups of people are these terrible things, and you incite people against them.
Right.
So I don't know. I have mixed feelings, Dean. I don't know if I'm supposed to be pleasant or if I'm just supposed to stare at them the whole time like I'm coming to get you.
With Tucker, I know people who have known him for years who tell me what you see on TV is not the Tucker they know, and that seems like he's playing a role. It's not a defense of him. I think it's even scummier. I mean, look, a sincere bigot is a sincere bigot, but a one that's fake just to make money is probably a different level of scumbagging.
Yeah, I hear you, but you know, Tucker's an interesting bird because of all the people that I debated at Politicon, including Ann Coulter, Dinesh D'Souza, etc., he was by far the most real. Now, that might be a little surprising. Yeah. Like, Shapiro's got a game face on, and so, hey, we're all nice, etc., but he's the whole time he's thinking about what am I going to do in the debate, and it's obvious. Like, I wasn't born yesterday. Of course he's doing that, right? And I know, and I'm measuring him up, he's measuring me up, but we're being polite. Tucker actually was not a robot. The others are talking point robots. They're trying to quote unquote win.
Right.
Tucker was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't like big business either. And I was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
Right.
Right. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. I don't like war either. So we found a couple of things to agree on. And I actually do believe that he's genuine about those positions. But it's a little tough to get past the white nationalism.
A little tough to say the least. So I want to, before we talk about the 2020 race and everything, I've got it because I saw you respond on Twitter. You reacted. Trump today. Lauren, let's play the clip here. This is Donald Trump today about talking to Piers Morgan about the draft and how he really maybe would have liked to serve in Vietnam, but he had his own reasons for why he couldn't serve. Here's clip number 2.
You were not able to serve in Vietnam because of a bone spur condition in your feet. Do you wish you'd been able to serve? Would you like to have served your country?
Well, I was never a fan of that war, I'll be honest with you. I thought it was a terrible war. I thought it was very far away. Nobody ever, you know, you're talking about Vietnam, and at that time, nobody ever heard of the country.
So a war in New Jersey would have been okay. Or at a golf. Why can't you have a war at a golf course? Vietnam, #loser war, low energy.
Yeah.
Can you believe How is that not disrespectful to all the countless men and women who served, who went to a country far, far away to serve our nation? This is off the charts garbage.
Yeah. It's about to get worse, but as you know. But Trump's unbelievable. His supporters are more unbelievable because he says things like, nobody knew Vietnam at the time.
No one ever heard of it, so why would I go there?
Yeah.
You can't even make a reservation.
So, first of all, there's some chance you hadn't heard of Dunkirk before Dunkirk or Auschwitz before Auschwitz, right?
Right.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't go.
Right.
And you celebrate your ignorance like it's some sort of mark of pride for you. And his followers love that. They're like, oh, yes, this guy's just as dumb as I am. I'm so happy. And for your, of course, if you're actually keeping track and you're a real veteran, you should be disgusted the way that he uses you as a prop.
Right.
And then actually does absolutely nothing for you. I just want to give a quick fact to the audience.
Sure.
You know, they say support the troops, et cetera. No, all the money goes to Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, et cetera, right? The starting salary for service members is $19,000
A year.
$19,000 a year. And so they don't give any of that to the troops. It's all a big joke. And then they send them to fight wars in faraway places that rich people like Donald Trump can't be bothered to go to. So I know we're going to get to his bone spurs, so that's going to be great.
Well, I won't even play that clip, but the idea of the bone spurs, you heard him say that. What I love about Trump is that now he's in tip top. He's in the best shape ever at 72. But in his 20s, he was not healthy enough. So he's the Benjamin Button of presidents. As he got older, he got healthier. To me, it's remarkable. What do you think of this bone spurs bullshit? I mean, that's really what it is. And I don't know why people who are veterans who like him buy that part, because they know that guy. They know that guy who was a rich son of someone, and they had to go serve our country. They were either drafted or they joined on their own, and they life or limb, and they lost a brother in the war, and they got a guy like Trump. He represents everything they should hate.
Yeah. No, I just think that a lot of the mainstream media doesn't challenge them enough, and then the Democrats don't challenge them enough. When Hillary Clinton was running against him, she should have eviscerated him on that, and among others. They keep pointing out what a bad guy he is, but for a lot of conservatives and unfortunately some independents, that's not the bug, that's the feature. So stop emphasizing that. So what you got to emphasize is how weak he is. So, I mean, to be fair, he's weak because he's got bone spurs, and it's hard for himself to hold, his body to hold himself up. No, but seriously, I wish we were talking about that, when I debate conservatives, but I'd say, look, he said, I really wanted to go to Vietnam. Well, he had a funny way of showing it because you got 5 deferments, right. Not 3, not 4, you got 5 deferments. Right. That would be the opposite of wanting to go to Vietnam. And the daughter of the doctor who wrote the doctor's note on the bone spurs, New York Times had a great story about it where she said, yeah, we got everything we needed at the apartment building that Trump's dad owned because of that doctor's note. So he is exactly that scumbag who got out because his daddy was rich and bought his way out of the war. If you're a veteran, you should despise this guy.
It's remarkable. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll come right back after this. More of Cenk Uygur right here in studio.
Dean Obadala Show on Sirius XM Progress 127. The Dean Obadala Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.
And welcome back. We're live, Dean Obadala Show, Wednesday, June 5th. In studio, Cenk Uygur. And he's going to stay after the break on the top for a little bit. Then he has to go to CNN and kick some conservative ass. That's right, Cenk does it. So, Cenk, let me ask you here. Impeachment time. I just had Julian Castro on earlier, one of the Democrats who've come out in favor of impeachment. I'll go through when we come back after the break all the reasons Democrats say we can't impeach him and try to get your reaction. Overall, though, what's your response to, is it time now for the impeachment inquiry? Is it in July? Is it August? When is the time for the impeachment inquiry to begin?
Right now, yesterday. It's a matter of principle, Dean. The guy clearly broke two laws: obstruction of justice and campaign finance law. His co-conspirator in the campaign finance violations is sitting in prison right now.
Right.
It's nuts not to pursue him when we know he's guilty, clear felonies, and if we don't pursue him, then he'll be proven right that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. And in this case, it won't be the MAGA guys and his supporters that let him do it. It'll be Nancy Pelosi who let him do it.
And that's the worst part, the idea that if we look back, if historians look back and say, you know what, the Democrats had the House and had an opportunity to stand up to someone who went on to win re-election and became as close as you can having a dictator in the United States of America. And we didn't do that. That's my actual part of my fear is that Democrats, because somehow if you do the impeachment inquiry and you have the impeachment and he's not convicted in the Senate and he still wins re-election, at least we did everything we could
100%.
to stop this guy. If we don't, we are, I think, complicit on some level as a party for the Democratic Party. And I know, and I always say the same thing you've said to me, that you're a progressive first and a Democrat second. I don't know if you're a Democrat. You're a progressive.
Yeah. I mean, look, let's keep it real. I'm going to vote for Democrats. Yes.
Right. So, no, I'm just saying, I don't know if you identify as a Democrat part of the party or you're a progressive and you like progressive candidates. I just don't know.
Yeah, I care about being progressive. Democrat's just a label.
It is. So, all right. So we're going to take a break. When we come back after the news break at the top, Cenk will be in here. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2020 campaign. I'm going to throw a few of the impeachment arguments that people have said back to you because you're a smart guy.
I
hear
love
what you have
that.
to say.
I can't wait.
And then we'll talk about the 2020 race. We talked about Joe Biden earlier. I mentioned to Julian Castro, and it's interesting to see how this is going to play out, all of it. So let's take a break and come back with more of Cenk Uygur.
The future of progressive radio. This is the Dean Obadala Show on SiriusXM Progress 127.
And welcome back to the Cenk Uygur Show. I'm Dean Obadala. I'm a guest on Cenk's show. Now, Cenk is right here in studio for the next about 15 minutes before he's got to go run to CNN to do some fighting. So, Cenk, I want to run past some of these arguments we're hearing from Democrats primarily, why we should not start impeachment. One is it'll hurt Democrats politically. Look at 1998, the way it devastated Republicans.
Okay, so first of all, we don't live in the 1990s. They got to snap out of it. Right. It drives me crazy when they say things like, all politics are local. No, Tip O'Neill said that in the 1970s. That was when newspapers, your local newspaper, decided everything. Now there's this thing called the internet.
Right.
All politics is not local at all anymore. And in this case, the 1990s don't apply. Bill Clinton was incredibly popular. Donald Trump is incredibly unpopular. Besides which, they're wrong about the facts. Do you know which party won the presidential race after the Republicans did impeachment?
Yes.
That's right. The
Exactly.
Republicans. And there's a reason for that. Even though they were wrong, they at least forcefully made their case. And in our case, we're right.
I know.
If we forcefully make our case against Donald Trump, that could change the whole dynamic. And Dean, imagine for a second, we never do impeachment. The Democrats never, ever make their case against Donald Trump. And then he wins re-election. It's unimaginable.
It's unforgivable as well.
And
Not just
unforgivable.
It would be. So Speaker Pelosi said, I can't start the impeachment inquiry until I have bipartisan support in the Senate. What's your reaction to that?
Loser. Okay, so no, seriously, and I know people get really upset, but I'm sorry, my job's to tell the truth, okay? Nancy Pelosi calls herself a master legislator. Everybody else in the media goes along with it. She's never won a goddamn thing. She passed Obamacare.
That's the big thing we talk about.
Yeah,
talk about.
yeah. So when they had a supermajority and it's Romney Care, it was built by the Heritage Foundation. That is not a big accomplishment, okay? So now, and by the way, you can't rest on your laurels from 28 years ago. So what has she done? She hasn't done anything. So her big master legislator move is, I'm going to surrender to Donald Trump. Now, wait. I thought you were the resistance. Now, I literally don't know anyone defending Donald Trump more than Nancy Pelosi. Because you could say, hey, there's those guys all over TV who are the MAGA guys, etc., and Nancy Pelosi criticizes them on other things. But let's be real. In terms of what could actually hurt Donald Trump, she makes up this total fantasy about how he wants to be impeached. No, he doesn't. No, he said it's a dirty, disgusting word. And Jim Acosta from CNN reported, no, everybody in the White House says, of course he doesn't want to be impeached. She made that up, and the rest of the media believed her because they're all sycophants of Nancy Pelosi, who's accomplished nothing but blocking progressive policies and now blocking Trump's impeachment. That's not the resistance, that's the assistance.
Not the resistance, it's the assistance, Cenk Uygur. I like that very much. So, and I agree with you. When Donald Trump said at that moment, it's a dirty word, why would you say that? It destroyed that entire argument because Trump is not bashful. He'd say, bring it on. I don't fear them. Instead, this is a guy who did not want to be impeached. What president wants to be the third one entered in the annals of history as being impeached, to be blunt? I mean, no one wants that. What about, well, if we impeach him in the House and he's acquitted in the Senate, it makes him more powerful?
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of things. First of all, I would love for you to say what you just said to Donald Trump. He'd be like, I don't want to be in any annals. Okay.
I mean, that's right. No, that's what I do. Right.
Okay.
Right.
No annals. I don't do that. Okay.
Right.
So now on impeachment and his place in history.
No, but he gets more powerful. I mean, there's someone go, I've had Democrats, well-intentioned, call and go, if we impeach him in the House, they have a trial in the Senate, he's not convicted, he walks around, he's more powerful, he goes, I'm cleared. I don't buy that argument either.
No. First of all, it's a political proceeding, not a legal proceeding. And Nancy Pelosi, as usual, helped Donald Trump because she said in a recent interview that if he's acquitted in the Senate, that you couldn't convict him later in legal proceedings. That's totally wrong.
I know.
100% counterfactual, right? And this is exactly what I'm talking about, Dean. The Democratic leadership, and I'm picking on Pelosi here because they have the House, but I'd pick on Schumer just the same if they had the Senate, right? They always preemptively surrender. So when you never make your case, and then you wind up, because you're not fighting against the other side, accidentally making their case, okay? And their case that's not even true.
Yep.
Then you've heard our cause so much. And the reality is, number one, you don't know if the senators, right now, if we voted today without hearings, of course the Senate would vote no, the Republicans would stick with Trump. But the point of hearings, as happened with Nixon, is you might find out things in the hearings that make a giant difference. And in fact, we might get the Deutsche Bank account record by then. This guy's been doing money laundering with the Russians for decades, okay? There's so much to get on him, but we're never going to find out. You know how many people know that he told his White House counsel to end the investigation and to lie about it to Congress? Nobody. Because the Democrats never made a big deal out of it. We've never had a national conversation about it. How many people read the Mueller report? 0%. Okay. Who read 448 pages? Okay. No real American read that thing. And so unless you go forward, you're never going to know if the Senate's going to vote your way. Even if they don't and they stick to their guns and they say, we're with the corrupt son of a bitch, then you got him on the record as being with the corrupt son of a bitch, and then you rout him in the next elections. That's how politics works. The other side makes their case, and I know Pelosi and Schumer, I hope you're sitting. Then you make your case.
I could not agree with you more, Cenk. And there's a conversation we've had on this show, and the idea that somehow that Speaker Pelosi should be worried about the Senate trial. That's not even what the framers of the Constitution wanted. They charged the House with the responsibility to impeach someone. You impeach them. You indict them. It's a grand jury. Then they have a trial. You know answers for not impeaching the House. You know answers for not convicting is the people in the Senate. They have to answer their constituents. They have to answer to us. And what I'm concerned about, because people call me and tell me this, is that not going for impeachment is dissipating their enthusiasm for 2020, because we've all worked so hard to win in 2018, and you almost make it feel like it didn't matter.
100%.
And
100%.
That's so wrong. That's the worst. If there's any choice, what's going to make us more enthusiastic and what's going to lessen or dampen our enthusiasm, they better always pick, as long as it's not ridiculous policy, pick what's going to keep us energized from now to November 3rd, 2020.
So, Dean, you hit on the core of the issue here, and let me expand upon that. So the Democratic Party is constantly talking about how they're going to woo Republicans in the suburbs, okay? Now, and then they say, oh, my God, if we do impeachment, their side might get energized. I got news for you. Their side is massively energized at all times, okay? Because they think they're losing the country to black people and Latinos and gay people and Muslims, right? So you know what percentage of white evangelicals voted for Trump last time? They had 85% voter turnout. That is unbelievable. America's never seen anything like that.
Right.
And 81% of them voted for Donald Trump. They're already energized. Hey, Pelosi and Schumer, you have to energize us.
Yep.
Your base. God damn it. They're so bad at politics. They're the worst at politics. Dean, they lost 1,000 seats in 10 years. The Democratic Party did all across the country. It's not an accident, because their leadership is incredibly weak, never makes their case, and always surrenders.
And, you know, the argument that somehow impeachment would help Trump could make sense objectively if, say, he had a 50% approval rating among Republicans, because then the rest rally around their leader. He's got 85, 90%. There's no one left to rally. The ones who are not supporting Trump in the GOP, it's not because they don't know what the guy's about. They know what he's about. They're like, we're not. The rest are in. So let's...
Dean, can I just say one more thing? Because it's so related to that. Because why they keep focusing on these Republicans in the suburbs, these mythical Republicans in the suburbs that they're going to swing. I'll tell you why.
They're unicorns out there.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you why. It's because in their world, all they do is they sit in a room for half the day, about 4 or 5 hours a day, calling donors.
Right.
And so the Republicans they know are all rich, and they're the ones that live in the suburbs. And they are persuadable because Donald Trump's a madman, and he's going to crash the markets, and he's going to cost them money. In the beginning, they were fine when they got the tax cuts. So, and Nancy Pelosi has said, she said as her third reason for not impeaching him, he's raising us a lot of money. And so she's doing it for the money. She thinks that's her strength. Hey, I've raised $500 million for the Democratic Party, and she has.
Right, she's very good at that.
Yes, and that's why
objectively and sincerely, she is. She's great.
No
at
question,
money.
no question about that. That's why she's a Speaker of the House.
Exactly.
So she thinks Pence isn't going to raise me money. Trump raises me money. Where's the downside? The downside is your voters. Then they say these people are never going to fight for us. So what's the point of showing up?
And think about younger people who watch this, and you're trying to make the case that the Democratic Party is drastically different from the Republican Party, and why you should join progressive and get involved in politics. And if you look on the outside that you're doing the same thing, what's the enticement? What make you feel good about yourself to be a part of our party if you're not going to do the right thing?
Donors pay for strong Republicans and weak Democrats. If you're a strong progressive, the donors will come out and say he's crazy, label him crazy, and drive him out of the party. And Pelosi and Schumer will do it every single time. So they tried doing it to Bernie, but they couldn't knock him down. They did it to Grayson. They did it to Kucinich. They did it to Howard Dean back when he was a progressive. And so they do this every time. And so the donors want a game where it's rigged so that the Democrats always lose. So they're literally paid to lose. That's why in a situation that seems unlosable, you're up against Donald Trump and they're still losing.
I'm chatting with Cenk Uygur, host of the Young Turks, the largest online show in the world. So in the last 4 or 5 minutes, we got you here. We're in the heart of 2020 race. Today, earlier in the show, he talked about Joe Biden. And by the way, he said he misheard the other question at the ACLU. So it wasn't a flip-flop. He's saying the statement's very clear. And I'll take him at his word that he thought it was a different question. He is for not rescinding the Hyde Amendment. He's for keeping the Hyde Amendment. What's your reaction to that?
I don't want a conservative as president. If I wanted a conservative, I'd vote for Donald Trump. And so Joe Biden, in his instincts, in his DNA, he is a conservative Democrat. He's not a conservative Republican, but he is a conservative Democrat. And so people always like, hey, but what if it's him? Would you vote for him over Trump? Of course! He's not Trump! I'd vote for him 1,000 times if I could, right?
And that's such an important point, by the way, that you just said, because I had someone call me, goes, I'm not going to vote for the Democrat if it's Biden. I'm like, what? Then just vote for Trump. Don't even pretend. Just vote for Trump instead of telling us you're not voting for the Democrat.
No, it's unconscionable to vote for anyone to vote for Trump or to anyone that helps Trump win. Okay. Right. But we're in a primary now. We're not in the general election.
Right.
Okay.
You pick who you want.
So we can pick who we want. And by the way, progressives and populists have a better chance of winning because they fight for higher wages. They fight for the average guy. They fight so that your kid, if he gets cancer, doesn't die. Those things are all incredibly important. Green New Deal will create millions of jobs. These are the things to fight for. Biden turns around and fights for the other side. The Hyde Amendment's a Republican position. Why would we do that? And then he goes around and brags about how he did the crime bill with Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond ran on the segregationist ticket to keep white and black people apart. Joe, you've got to at least have enough sense not to say those things in 2019. But he's not good at this. He's a serial bungler. And he is far too conservative for the Democratic Party. This is not the time. The only way Joe Biden wins is if Democratic voters panic. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so worried. Let's go a little more conservative. But we did that with Hillary.
Right. There is some of that sense, though, electability. I was going to ask you, how do you make the case that electability is not poll numbers in June of 2019?
No. Look, the mainstream media
is awful.
Yes, but it enforces this mythology that is actually alternative facts. They say, hey, the way to beat Donald Trump is to pick someone electable who's more mainstream centrist establishment status quo, like Hillary Clinton. What? She's the person who lost to Donald Trump.
Right.
Joe Biden is arguably the most similar to Hillary Clinton. He has almost the same exact position. Actually, he's slightly more conservative than Hillary Clinton is, right? And so, by the way, between Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, I think I'd vote for Hillary Clinton.
If there was the primary between the two.
Yeah, because Biden is more conservative. So why would I make that same mistake? That doesn't make any sense. Whereas Bernie Sanders had a 12-point lead on election night. Now, you could say it would have whittled down, but at least he had a 12-point buffer. So we have evidence that one side of the Democratic Party is more electable than the other side. Yet everyone on TV tells you 24/7 that progressives are less electable. That's a lie.
I agree with you. The energy is on the progressive side of our party. That's the people who go out and knock on doors, make phone calls, take their friends to the polls. They've got money, give money. That's where our energy really is. And people are going to choose. I'm not taking a position in the primary at all. I want all the candidates and their supporters to come on and listen. But I also say this is the time to vet the other candidates. So I have no problem with people criticizing other candidates grounded in reality, not ridiculous lies about someone. But then whoever at the end, like you were saying, whoever our nominee is, we need to support that person to defeat Donald Trump, who's an abomination. So, Cenk, my friend, thank you for coming in studio. It's great to see you in person here. And check out Cenk's show all the time. It's on YouTube, of course.
Just go to our website, tyt.com, as in the Young Turks.
And Iowa, if you happen to be in Des Moines this Saturday.
Yes, thank you, Dean. Des Moines, 3 o'clock, Franklin Junior High. In fact, you could find out all the information at tyt.com/rally. And we're going to do a massive progressive rally. And what I'm telling people is, the revolution needs an army, and we're going to build that army.
Cenk Uygur, building the army. I like that. We're going to get arrested for that one, but still. Cenk, great seeing you in person. Folks, let's take a break. We'll be back with more of the Dean Obeidallah Show right after this. At this point, the question is not who connected to Donald Trump is a criminal. The question is anyone connected to Donald Trump who's not a criminal?
The Dean Obeidallah Show. Sirius XM Progress.